Hi, welcome back to the breadboard, and this is the second part of my review of the Weller 3003 reflow workstation as provided to me by RS Components and Weller. So let's get into first use impressions. This is the first time I'm actually using this soldering station. I've never powered it up yet, so everything you see will be truly the first impression. So let's start without reading the manual in typical style of reviews and see what we can figure out without actually having to read instructions to see how intuitive this unit actually is. Now what I have right now is the main display with nothing plugged into it, and I haven't powered it on yet, so you're going to see this for the absolute first time, the same as I am, when I figure out where the switch is and turn it on. I'm sure there is a switch back here somewhere. Nope, because it's right on the front. Okay, so nice backlit display, turning on, and nothing showing, which is probably not surprising because there are no tools plugged in right now. I believe if you press both buttons, you can bring up a menu. So language, units, degrees F, enter a password, single channel view or 3-channel view probably. How do I change one of those? Probably, nope. We'll have to have a look at that. There's a right arrow. Oh, maybe here you press for right arrow. Yep, there you go. Degree C, enter. There we go. Password, single channel view. I think that's probably just going to show a great big display for one of them. We'll look at that later. LCD contrast, that's fine. Its brightness is fine. Vacuum on, we'll leave these other ones alone. Pressure, screensaver. That's the two COM ports in the back. They're RS-232. There are other options for those, I'm sure. Pot-free output, zero smog. I think that's when you connect a vacuum to the back of this thing, and it can automatically turn it on for, not a vacuum, but a fan, to suck away smoke and things when you're soldering. Pickup percent, 65%. That's probably the suction for the pickup device. Back to the beginning again, so that's pretty much it. We just changed that to say degrees centigrade. So there is the basic opening menus in a quick tour around the front, so fairly intuitive. It took me a second to figure out how to drive the menu, but that's fine. So we've got on the front here, we've got tool 1, tool 2, tool 3. We have air, which obviously is going to blow for the hot air soldering iron and things. We have vacuum for the desoldering tool, and we have pickup. There's two of them, pickup A and B, I guess, so that you can use the small SMD pickup tool for things. So let's get my first tool, and what I'm going to do is just plug in the soldering iron first, just the soldering iron, nothing else, and let's see what we get. So that's going to be this one. I'm going to plug it in. It's the WXP 65 watt soldering iron. The really nice thing I'm noticing with these is they've got this really nice silicone coated wires for all of these, so very, very flexible, and they're a good 1.5 meters long at least, 4 or 5 feet long cables. So all of them have keyed pins. I don't know if that'll focus on that. There you go. So that it can identify the devices. Apparently all of these tools have a little smart chip in them for identification purposes. So let's just plug this into channel 1. And that's immediately identified it as a WXP 65. It's heating it up already as well. The soldering iron has got a nice little blue light on to tell you it's active. And I'm not going to touch it, of course, but I can actually feel the heat close to that. Up to 380 degrees, and apparently when you put it down and leave it alone, if it's set up that way, it will automatically power down as well. So that's the first one. The next one I'm going to plug in is, I think, the tweezers, because they're just heating elements as well. The other two involve vacuums and things to go with them. So let's take the tweezers and plug that in while we're waiting for this one. So I'm going to plug the WXMT-MS 12 volt in now, and let's see that identify properly. Again, a really nice long lead for it, and I'm going to plug that into channel 2. And just lock it in place. So it's identified it correctly, and there are no lights on this one though to tell you that it's on locally, but that's already hot. I can feel just a few seconds in, it's up to temperature. I guess the third one I could probably plug in is the vacuum, or the hot, actually this can do the hot air blower. I haven't put a tip on it yet. Maybe I should put one of those on in a moment. Actually, I should put one on now. So just give me a second and I'll get a tip and put it on. So the hot air blower actually comes with a little toolkit, which is this little wrench and a little spanner, or could call that a wrench as well. Comes with 2 tips, which are quite small ones. Just bring those into focus there. So you've got a small and a fairly largest one. They're still not very big, but I'm sure you can get other ones that go to much bigger sizes. And there's a little adapter as well for those tips to go into the actual blower itself. So let's get this assembled. And no, I haven't plugged it in yet, so I'm not going to be burning myself. So that's the first one. I guess use the wrench just to nip that up a little bit. And then we'll go with the bigger blower tip for the moment and just screw that into the end. And this is where this tool comes in, and it's metal inside, so you just put that in and you can just nip that up gently, and we're all set to be able to plug this one in. Now, one of the nice things with this device is it has it's still all of these so far I've all got really nice silicone cables. It's got the vacuum, oh sorry, not vacuum in this case, got the blower hose here, but the entire cable is a nice thick, shrouded with, again, a siliconized sleeve, so that it's well protected, but it's very, very flexible, so it's not going to impede you doing anything. And again, it's about 4 feet long, so that's really nice. So let's just plug that back in there, and we'll go back to the base unit and see. We'll plug this into number 3 if it likes it, but it'll have to reach to the vacuum. And that's identified as the WXHAP 200 on the display. And I guess you just put the vacuum into, blower into air. Just slide it over there and you're all set. The hot air tool here now is on standby. If I pick that up, push the button, excuse the noise. So here's the tool. You can feel it heats up very quickly. It's 550 degrees it's set to at the moment, as you can see on the display there. Again, illuminated so that you can see that it's actually on as well. And when you put it down, it should go into standby. And you can see all of these now are in standby. They're all sitting at 100 degrees, 180, 180. From what I understand, you can program also what temperature these go down to standby in. So if I pick up the soldering pencil right now, which is number 1, it's currently sitting at 180, it will or should rapidly come out of standby. And as you can see there, it's now heating up because I've pulled it out up to 380 degrees, and there you go. So if I put it back in here, it will eventually go into standby. Not sure how long, but if we pick up the soldering tweezers, it'll come out of standby. So there's little sensors obviously in these tools that will detect when you're not using it and it's just sitting on the bases, which is really nice. Means you can basically walk away from it once it's on the base and not have to worry about it. I think you can just push one of the channels. Oh, there you go. So this is telling us the actual temperature and the set point temperature, I believe. So this is showing it warming up now. There it is, up to temperature. So that was number 2. Let's pick up number 3. See, it's not going to go to push number 3. And it's showing it coming up to temperature, which is set to 350. Or I can change it to 320. It looks like you can have dual temperature settings for these to quickly switch between them, which is nice. Go back to 03. So that's the basic setup for this. You can actually program this through USB as well and attach it to a PC for auditing reasons, because it's a high-end workstation. Depending on the processes you're doing in an industrial or commercial production facility, you may have to have audit trail that says what soldering station did you use, what temperature was it used at, even the date, time and things like that of use that would be there. So you would have to be able to track that, and this allows you to actually hook this into a PC to do that kind of thing as well. So anyway, let's let me just change one of the tools to this pickup device and we'll give that a little go. So it looks like for the pickup tool I actually don't have to unplug anything because it doesn't rely on a heater for its functionality. It just requires a low vacuum. So all you've got to do is plug it into one of the pickup sockets, not sure whether which one's the right one, and press the pickup. That's not the active one, so I guess it's that side. And there's a very gentle vacuum now on the tip. So if I grab one of my little test pieces, we can see how well it picks things up. So with this tip, if I actually try and pick up the component, it won't pick it up right now. That's because it's too big. It is strong enough to pick up the entire PCB and drop it, but not the chip itself. So I need to change the tip for a different kind, and fortunately the kit for the picker-upper came with a number of different tips so that you can put different ones on. So let's just pull these out of the bag and change the tip and try that again. So you can see here, this is the one that it came with, which is quite big, and in the packaging it comes with 2 other smaller ones right here, which looks like they will be just fine, and then 2 additional large ones of the same size that we already have. Let me just adjust the camera just a touch. It's too far. There. You can see they're the same size as the existing one, so I need to put one of these small ones onto the tip instead. So I'm just going to use this extra tip holder that they've given me so I don't have to keep pulling it on and off the rubber. Okay, so I now have the tiny tip on. So let's see how well this will pick up the component and allow me to place it. I'm doing this left-handed so I don't block the camera. There's the component picked up and dropped into place, so that works quite well. Just changing hands because I'm actually right-handed, not left-handed. So I'm going to try and do this in a little bit better so that you can still see it. So you block the hole to pick up the component, and then you hold it over where you want and you just let go. And there it is placed. So what else is there left to try? The solder sucker, I guess. So it looks like everything has actually now finally gone into standby here, which is really nice. So even my soldering iron is going to standby. They're still showing blue lights around the irons themselves, so that would indicate that at the iron end you don't know whether it's on or not, like as in really hot, but they're all sitting at 100, 180 degrees centigrade. So either way you would assume that they're going to have some kind of heat on them. You can also program a power down. I was just checking on the website. You can program a power down cycle too, where it will completely shut down after a period of inactivity. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unplug the tweezers and I'm going to plug in the desoldering tool to give that a go. So before you use the desoldering tool, you need to make sure that it actually contains a filter. And the way that you do that with this one is you pull back this black piece and you hear it click, and then you can just lift this out, and what it has is a cardboard filter insert in here for collecting all of the solder inside this cardboard tube. And you can see here that it's got a direction arrow on it, so we just need to put that into the holder. Click it back into the soldering iron, hot desoldering tool. Push the button at the end here, and that releases the spring to push this back into place. And now we're all set to plug it in. So I've already attached the vacuum down here for this. Let me just move that one out of the way. This one's air going out, this one's a vacuum I've just plugged in, so I'm going to plug this into number 2. And that's identified it as the WXDV 120, and it's now heating it up. Now I do have a board somewhere to try the desoldering. I've got this old board here that used to be for an LCD display. It has a few surface mount components, and what it's also got is this through hole connector on here with some pads on the back that I would normally use a solder sucker for. So let's give this desoldering tool a go and see how well it handles this. Now this tool actually does have a light on. I had it upside down in the holder, and there's your activation button. So you just push the button and it activates the vacuum, and you can see here on the tip, if I can make it focus there. So that's the size tip we're using right now, which looks about right for what we're going to be doing on this board. So let's give it a go. Here is the board we're going to desolder, and well, I've already done 3, but I forgot to press the record button, so I'm just going to put the iron on here, hold it on for a few seconds just to melt the solder, and push the button. And that's sucking out nicely. It's going to do a couple more while we're at it. And there we have, you can see there it's quite nicely pulling out all the solder. So I'm just going to go off camera and finish this off, see if we can get this connector out, see how easy it is, and then we'll try something else. So sometimes with desoldering it actually pays to put a little bit of solder on the joint first to help in the actual desoldering process. Now I know that sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes the solder is quite old and it just needs a bit of freshness with the flux to help things get moving a little bit. And if there's any contaminants on the surface which might inhibit the desoldering, it also will allow the contaminants to be burned away. So that's what I'm doing here for some of these other ones. There was like a rubbery plastic double-sided tape over the top of all these connections, so it is a little gungy, which might be making it harder to desolder. So I'm just putting a bit of fresh solder on all of these contacts, and we'll do that again. Okay, let's see if that goes any easier. Much. But I can see most of those are already rocking in the sockets as I rock this, which is quite good. So there you go, that's the desoldering tool. So for surface mount components like these small resistors and things here, it was commonplace to remove them to actually use 2 soldering irons, similar to what I'm about to show you. For instance, like this, one on each side, to actually desolder components. But as you can see, that's rather brute force, and you can easily damage the component. Now the tweezers that came with this kit should allow me to remove this thing very, very easily. So let's give that a go. So it looks like the tweezers could not go into the 3rd socket on the base of the unit. Can't go into this one. So what I've done is I've put them into the 2nd one. It works okay. Probably something to do with the fact that it's 12 volts. Okay, so let's give this a go. The tweezers are now at 350 degrees. So I just want to tin them. You should always tin your parts before you use them the first time. This prevents them from corroding, so I'm just touching them with a bit of solder, even though I'm going to use to take off, and then I'll just clean them in the cleaning spongy foil metal shavings thing. Now we'll give this a go to see how well we can remove these surface mount components. And I would say that is very well. It's already off. Need something to take it off of the tool because it's stuck to it. There you go. Let's do another one. So that came off very, very easily, and much more control than two-handed with 2 soldering irons. So I'm able to take those off very easily. I guess you need something just to take them off the iron. If you're not going to reuse them, of course, you don't need to worry about it. You'll just clean them off in the scraper. So let's take a few more components off and just have some fun. Oh, this is so easy. I wish I had one of these years ago. These things are just flying right off. See? All those little capacitors, just no time at all. I'd have a much harder time getting these off cleanly if I was using something else to do that. There they all are right there. Nice and simple. See if I can do something a little bigger, like one of these big tantalum caps. Probably not an issue there either. There we go, and it drops, of course, right off because it's heavier. So that was pretty easy. These tiny ones tend to stick to the end of the iron, so you got to knock them off or put them in the cleaning. Yeah, that's working really quickly and nicely. So that's pretty cool. Might as well finish the board off while I'm at it for these. And that's all of them. So no time at all getting all those components off because those ones stuck together. That works really well. Very happy with that. So nice, clean, no damage to the board whatsoever. all these off, all these off, couple of tenths and all these off. Nice, clean, beautiful result. Just what they want. So now I've got all those components off. How about one of these surface mount chips like this one, or this transistor here, the regulator. Let's see if we can pull these off. This time we'll need the hot air gun and a pair of tweezers. So we're back to the old-fashioned tweezers, of course, to take the component off. This is set for 280 degrees as well. Yep. And I guess it literally blew it right off. There's the chip, nice and cleanly removed. Let's try the larger regulator. $550 degrees. Sorry, I was reading the wrong display before. That's already blown it right off the table. Very nice. Now, of course, if you let the component actually get up to 550 degrees C, it won't like that because these are not designed. The components normally are up to about 320 before they would be damaged. So if you're taking it off and you don't care about reusing it, that's fine. But if you're taking it off to reuse it, diagnosis, debugging, whatever, then you really want to take it off with as little temperature as possible. So that's where having a local pair of tweezers, for example, to test when the component is hot enough, where the solder is melted. So what we'll do here is I'll use a pair of tweezers just to push at it. And there it is already. So that's how quickly it was able to come off. And I think we've pretty much cleaned all the components off of there. Just a couple of connectors that are left, and that's it. So excellent. Happy with that. So that's the soldering iron. Soldering Station, the WXR3, brand new in North America for this particular model, just been certified. Available from RS Components. I will provide the links. I want to say thank you again to RS Components and Weller for providing this station to me, and I look forward to using it in a lot of videos to come for both my projects as well as tutorials and how-tos. So it should be fun, and it is a nice welcome replacement from my old soldering iron, which, as I said, was pretty much about to give up the ghost, but it served me well. So if this thing lasts as long as my previous irons have, I will be very, very happy. So that is it, the WXR 3003 soldering station from Weller. All the links to these accessories and the soldering station, etc., will be provided in the description of the post.